25% flat damage. Probably not the best trade, but, you know, maybe being an immortal god is worth it. Alright. So I already switched everything over to I need to be physical. I'll post the build later. Life Siphon, yeah. And because we have the Thirsting Gloves, I'm just going to get the 10% crit chance there. We'll see if it's worth it. Alright. Switching to souls, not really much reason to. I could have got more guaranteed bleed with chaos, probably, but wanted to get the damage reduction from the shroud. I'm gonna maybe focus on doing damage because it's damage to take a big hit, losing the second critical. That said, I'm over-geared. Gear is now level 75 while I'm doing level 50 content, so first couple runs aren't going to be the true test of character. Especially not forests. All these are pointless. Sure. Let's go with that one. Sure, I'll take a Dragon's Heart. Why not? 200 more health never hurt anybody. Nope. That is not the secret. Well, there you go. That'll help with Essence procs. Not that I was having a problem anyway. I don't think totems bleed. Regardless, my essence stacks give me enough healing beyond just what thirsting would give. So it's probably overkill. Oh, sorry. I'm sick, so I was not even paying attention to my chat screens. Epic weapons. Yeah, the boss drops occasionally are these maps that you can run through the Griffin, and they will give you epic items. The weapons are just 3 different types between Mainhand, Offhand, and two-handed. Obviously, you get weapons on maps that are for weapons. Yeah, let me move my chat so it's in a more easily visible spot for me, so I don't kind of like ignore it again. Don't know how long that one was sitting out there. All right. Sorry about that. Did not mean to leave you unanswered. Yeah, no problem. Yeah. And some of the weapons are really good. Some of them aren't. Like anything arcane is bad. The axe, the one-handed axe and the one-handed mace are bad. The two-handed crossbow is bad. Basically, if it was a bad weapon before, it's still going to be a bad weapon. And with the exception of the long sword and the short sword and the dagger, which got bumped up to being okay, and the maul, two-handed maul, which is a pretty good weapon. And sorry, the long sword and the short sword moved up to better than just okay. They're really solid weapons now. In fact, the short sword might now be the best weapon in the game. And the short sword's what I'm using here. Which, like, the Warlock has no offensive weapon support. It's designed to be a spell-based build, but because they've given just so many buffs to weapons and nothing to spell builds for so long, like, even at, like, New Game 7, it might be better to just go flat weapons-based if you optimize your gear. Nope, don't need anything in there. Yeah, I can definitely see the Warlock's not going to be the best damage-wise. I mean, obviously, it gets nothing for it. For weapon builds, but I also don't, like, lose health when I'm fighting. Granted, I'm over-geared. But there's so much healing going on, especially with the additional Thirsty. Drain Blood, that's the one. So now I'll have a much more reliable source of bleed for Thirsty. Which I guess means I don't need the drink that gives me bleeding. I couldn't remember. For some reason I was thinking that was under the ritual, which I'm not running. Yeah. Anything that buffs my spell damage, I'm pretty much going to ignore because I don't have very much intellect in this build. So I'll be taking a lot of odd buffs that I would normally just be like, maybe not. Yeah, I mean the run I did on my rogues earlier, I was just using a weapon build as well, going poison rogue, and that was reasonably effective. I mean, it's hard to argue for rogue because rogue at those levels does so much damage with skills, but it's perfectly reasonable option to just do a weapons build. I was doing like I think my quickest run was like a 25-minute run, which is at low new games is pretty ballin'. But most of my runs were around like 30 to 35 minutes with a weapons build, and that's not bad at all. I could probably do the same thing with a skill build, but having only one set of gear between all of your characters makes things very efficient. If not necessarily fun, because playing the same basic thing 6 or 7 times each new game round, you know, it isn't necessarily the best gameplay loop, because once you're focusing on weapons being the primary thing, the differences between the classes become less and less. So I don't know. This might be more a demonstration of some of the failings of the most recent patch than oh look, here's a new thing you can do. Yeah. This is I have a strong feeling this is going to really make Transmutation Wizard viable even earlier, which is whew, that's a thing. Transmutation takes over the game already late game, making it viable at like new game 7. It just seems silly. And you still need to use skills because you still need to proc the Drums of War. But you don't use them to do damage. Or Drums of Battle, that's what it is. Yeah, I originally was trying Demolition on my rogue, which I think is better at high levels, but at low levels I think because you don't have that much physical and poison damage extra from your gear, the additional poison damage on weapons perk actually is very strong at that point. Because it basically it's like, oh well, you're level 75. Okay, let's add 150 onto your weapon, onto your weapon's weapon damage of a different element than your physical, sure, but we'll also pump you up with 50% damage in another skill for that. Let's take that one. I still wouldn't use blades, regardless of what you're doing on rogue, though, because blades is a terrible spec. I don't know why anyone runs it. No, I know exactly why people run it. They see the health leech, and they're like, oh, that will save it. No. Just get better and don't get hit as much. The fact that you have to be in the danger zone anyway when using it, like, it's just not worth it. Yeah. If you're using the skill, you should not be struggling using the skill build. Well, New Game 7, you might have some mana. I guess you'd have mana issues. The damage should still be there. Yeah, if you have everything spec'd, and you put in some extra damage, or cooldown reduction. Yeah, because rogue is one of the most powerful early game builds. Like if you're running solo and you're not leveling up your other classes, you could be having issues. But the solution to that is to also level up your other classes. Guild bonuses or title bonuses do matter. Obviously, like rogue gives trap reduction, which is great, but like, you know, the wizard gives you a lot of that spell power that you're going to need. The ranger gives you a lot of that weapon power you're going to need if you're going to run a weapon build. Extra health, extra resistances, all that adds up. Very late game, you can just ignore it, but early game, unless you really know what you're doing, it's going to be hard. Of course, you know, you could also have like under-leveled gear that will also set you behind. Not having the right enchants. Lower level game, you need to focus more on mana cost reduction than just casting as fast as possible, because obviously if you don't have the mana to cast a spell, you're not doing damage. It's a common sense thing that some people don't think about. And of course you need to have the right drinks. I mean, like, yeah. The game has just buffs that add on to each other, So if you're running one or two things wrong, you'll see just a significant drop in power. Ow, 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 ow. Yeah, not really. I have trap reduction damage. And it can also be very annoying farming for the right epic enchants on your armor. Not weapons. Weapons, it's all about finding the weapon itself. Weapons do not have multiple enchants. Only armors do. For the epic variety, that is. And you can still enchant the green and the blue enchant on epics, they just don't change the name. Which is a bit weird, but it was a design decision. Oh, I guess one thing that could really be affecting you is if you were still trying to run Dex gear while using a skill build too. Some people don't realize that, yeah, if you're using skills, you just need to be wearing wizard gear. All int. All int all day. It doesn't matter that Dexterity gives you spell power. You get spell power in other ways. So if you were trying to run a Dex skill build, that could have been your problem. Honestly, without looking at what you were doing, I can't say for sure. And I probably belabored the point because you said you're already switching to weapon. But I was just trying to mentally run it over while running this. It's like, what could have been causing you trouble? Because, yeah, Rogue is one of the most powerful early game classes. I've also seen people suggest don't level up fans of knives all the way if you're doing a skill build to make it cheap. No. If you're running a skill build, you always upgrade your fan of knives. Never take bolus, or whatever the second option is, but always fully upgrade fan of knives. It doesn't matter that it costs more. It pierces, and it does a wider cone, and it shoots more things, and it does more damage. It's necessary. I've also seen people that try to use bolus or whatever that second ability is. I think it's bolus in Hammerwatch 1. I don't think that's what it is in Hammerwatch 2. It's so bad. It should never be taken. All it does is make you worse because it dilutes your perk pool. Same for Fireball on Wizard. And traps on Ranger. They under no circumstance, unless you're trying to be silly, should you ever run them. They just make you mechanically worse as a character. Traps seem to be the only thing doing damage to me right now, which is kind of funny. I'm just going to test that real quick. Just stand here. Yeah, traps seem to be the only thing dealing damage to me right now. So I'm pretty safe, just ignoring the actual game and chatting. Granted, that's partly because I'm overgeared, but it's also partly because I have so much healing going on. Yeah, the difference between 1 and 2 here literally does not matter. It is a worthless perk because bleeding does absolutely minimal amounts of damage. That being said, all the other ones here also suck, so I'm just going to pick one that does something other than nothing, even if it's very little. Alright, I'm already level capped, so I can just ignore this and just get the perks. I'm already making things bleed, so I don't need the wicked hooks. Alright, let's see if I can ignore the boss mechanics. I think the answer is yes. What do you think? All right. But yeah, I also have several guides on the official Hammerwatch Discord. If you want to post a comment with your, like a screenshot of your stats and whatnot on the appropriate thread for the build, I can also just give you tips. Excuse me, give you tips there. I'm usually pretty responsive. It might take me a day or two, depending on what's going on in my life, but I try to make sure people get the answers, and if not, there's plenty of other people who know good stuff. It is a very good resource for trying to figure out stuff in the game. Much better than Steam or the Reddit. Oh my god, the Reddit is so bad. The amount of bad advice I've seen on it is just... And it's so slow. But yeah, the Discord is fairly reliable data. Sorry, I keep forgetting I need to mute before I cough. I've been used to playing without a mic for a couple days. Because, again, being sick. I'm feeling well enough that I don't need to be constantly on mute, but I should be muting myself for that, and I apologize. Oh, Drums of War. There we go. Big DPS increase. And even more health now that I have 4 pieces of apothecaries. Alright, time to go full hubris mode. Just ignore traps. Just ignore Shadow Curse. Alright, next floor. I mean, I guess I'll take a purple for that. It's a bad purple, but it's remats at the end all the same. Alright, anything down here I need? Yep, perk. I doubt I'll be able to do quite this much of cheesing once I actually catch up in gear, but it is funny how resilient it is. Why am I doing mechanics? Come on. Just stand next to it. Duh. Oh, need to make sure I'm standing next to something, though. If it moves. There we go. Dumb. I'm not going to imagine that I could do that on these guys, though. These, I don't think, can bleed. So that takes off a big chunk of my healing. And they also just do too much damage. But I can still run past them very easy, like I always do. Maybe pop in, get a few things here and there. Oh, but there's not much on this map. Go figure. Okay. Not going to ignore avatar mechanics. Just because I don't want to get in the habit of doing it. And I don't want to be silenced because I'm not, or disarmed because I'm not using the right helm. A 37-minute run, not too bad. Alright. I do need to get some weapon mastery for Shortsword, because I think after spinning my stars, I only got to put 3 clicks into it. But let me sell gear first. Didn't mean to sell down to 100 wood, but that's fine. I'm only going to use 86 for the next run, so I'll get that back. Alright. You know,